Hello friends, so let's welcome to all of you. So today we will be start and about and learn about the EDI standards and how many standards are working on the EDI industries. So you will learn in this videos. So please keep in touch with me. And so what is why we use the EDI standard? Okay, so EDA standards facilitate electronic data interchange by providing multiple things like first the rules of the syntax, okay, definition of the data organization, editing rules and conventions, published public documentations, and EDI standards allow an open system, reduce implementation efforts, providing third-party interface. If we talk about the EDI fact, what is EDI fact? EDI fact is a very important, which is generally used in the EDI industry, which is technology. It's working on the logistic and retails and transport industry as well. Okay, and EDI is an acronym for the EDI for administration, commerce, and transport. Okay, it's coordinates the international standardization by working through the UNECE, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. It provides an international EDI standard, a set of syntax rules, data element, segment, and codes, and messages as well. Okay, EDA fact is the product of evaluation in the bringing the property standard of the US and Europe together to form a single international EDA standard. Here we can see the flow chart of the EDA fact. Okay, properties from the US is going to the TDCC, and it is going to the NCX12. Okay, and this is going to like for the EDI fact, and it's directly we are just going to the EDI fact. This is generally used industry specific and national version as well. Okay, in the Europe properties, it's going to the GTTI GTD, GTDI, okay, and it's always going to the EDI fact. Like we can say NCX12 and the EDI fact both are the working the industry as well. In order to bring about the evaluation of the EDIFACT standard, the UN, United Nations has created the UNECE to coordinate this effort. This organization structure of the UNECE is made of the following board. Okay, you can see here this is the board showing the flow chart and the standard approved here, and in the right side standard developed here. Okay, this is from the left to right. The message definitions. The message is a single business document. Each message is identified by a six-character name from the buyer side, and these included orders, but purchase order, which is also called the 850 file as well. Okay, and CUSDC is called the customer declaration. If we call about the ITF, IFT, IMIN, it's called the instructions message. ADV, remittance advice, PAYORD, it's called the payment order. Seller side message included the IFT, MAN arrived notice, CUSRES called the customer response, INVO, IC is called the invoices, which we can call the in the X12 810. Okay, this is work is similar, but in the X12 we call the three-digit numerical value like 810, 830, 834, and 997. In the EDI fact, we call the naming convention with the six digit. Okay, the messages are made up for the collection of sequenced segment within defined areas. Some segment may be used in more than one area. Segment that can be used in each area are defined by the EDI fact documentation. EDI fact provide a hierarchical structure of message begin with the message header, like you can say UNH. This is very important. Like you can able to see UNH and BGM and MOA. This is called the header. Okay, the segment and with the message trailer, it's called a UNT. Okay, and it's going to end on the trailer UNT segment. And those two segment are the first and the in innermost level of the three level of electronic envelope with the EDA fact. Here is an example of the extended payment order PAYEXT message that illustrates this structure. Okay, this is the detail of the document. We can pass the value like whatever the information we are passing on, and it's a summary of the This is a plus is called the separator. Okay. Message structure segment table. The message structure is defined in the segment table. This gives the rules of message. They also know which segment are used in a particular message and the order in which the segment must appear. Here is an example of a segment table for the extended payment order in called PAYEXT. Okay, these are the position and this is called the tag and this is the name. If we talk about the tag UNH, what is the message meaning of that? This is a message header. If we talk about the position 20 VGM, it's the beginning of the message. If we talk about the DTM, the date, time, and period. Okay, BUS business functions called REF references. DTM it's called the date time period. FTX it's called the free text. PAI called the payment instructions, and FCA is called the financial charge allocation. MO is called the monetary amount. CUX called currencies, and ATTM called the date time period as well, and REF for the references. The multiple tags are there which is generally used in the EDI fact. Segment table is specify if a segment must appear in message. This is done using a requirement designator field. Each segment the table is designated as either mandatory and conditional. Okay, see, mandatory means that at least one occurrence of the message of the segment must be appear in the message. Conditional means a segment may be used if needed, but it's not required. Segment table also specify how many times a particular segment may repeat, and this is called the repetitions field as well. Here's the requirement designation designator and repetition in as displayed in the table for the extended payment order. It's called the PAYEXT message as well. Here you can see the position tag are there and name of the tag and which of the requested or repetition. Okay, message structure segment are which is called in the group as well. Okay, when the collection of the segment repeat as a group, they are called segment groups. Here is an example of the segment group for the extended payment order like PAYEXT. You can see this is the segment group are here, and this is the segment group another. Okay, the first segment group and this is the another segment group. Okay, and as a header start to the UNH. Okay, and segment group may need nested. This means that the segment group is fully contained with another segment group. As an example of a nested segment group, if suppose if you are taking the you are giving the interview and interview might ask what is the nested segment group, so you can be answer of this question. Okay, both segment group 7 segment CUX DTM and segment group 8 segment AJT and MOA, okay, REF as well are the within segment group 6 documented details. In the group C, you can able to see segments. A segment is collection of the logically related data element in a fixed defined sequence. Segment contain a three-character alphanumeric code that identifies the segment. This is called the segment tag. Variable length data element. These can be either simple or composite. Segment must be separated by a data element. It's called a separator as well. Data element delimited. Which is normally plus and colon and terminator by the segment terminator normally. All the segments are fully documented in the United Nations Trade Data Interchange directly UNTDID. These tables list the segment position, segment tag, segment name, segment table also. Specify if the segment must appear in a message using the requirement designator and mandatory for the C conditional if required. Okay, and how many times a particular segment may repeat in the repetition field. In EDI fact, there are two kinds of segment. You need to be aware like first is the service segment and second is the generic segment. Service and generic segment. Okay, first is service segment. Service segment are included like envelopes UNB, UNH, UNG, UNE, and UNH, UNT. These are the service segments. Okay, in the delimiter string advice like UNA. Okay, this is called the separator. Okay, and it's a section separator. It's called the UNS as well. In the generic segment are how many types of DOC to identify the and specify document, MOA for the mandatory amount, DTF for the date and times periods as well, and AD for the name and address of the data of the employees or information. Here's a simple segment information like you can see. This is a data element, okay, and plus is the like this plus is for the separation, okay, and colon is for the sub element separator, okay, and this is a single quote is called the segment terminator. Is a collection of the mandatory and conditional data element, as you can see the segment tag, okay, LIN is called segment tag, okay. I think you are understand. Segment terminator and delimiter. At the end of the each segment is determined by a data segment terminator. In the EDI fact, the standard data segment terminator is okay and indicates no more data. It's called the end of the each segment. Okay, and optional of or the conditional data element that are not used must be accounted for by their position with the segment. Okay, like you can see column as their indicator option data not used. However, optional or conditional data element without it, data that appear at the end of the data segment do not need additional data element separators to correctly position the data. Not corrected is called plus plus and is there. What is mapping? Suppose many of the times interviewer can be asked, do you know the mapping and how we can do the mapping? So in this video you will be learn about the mapping as well. There's the most of many business applications. There are the businesses in the early days. Each business had its own application for the tracking merchandise, ordering, invoicing, accounts payable, receivable, and other business needs. So we soon realized that the computer application of one business could not talk to those of others. This meant re-entering all the data that has received. Second, the application in one department of a business could not talk to those of others in the same business. Order entry could not talk of to invoicing, which could not talk to receivable. Receivable. This means re-entering required data multiple times. The solution was to standardize the data that was read by a computer program so that the data could be read by all the programs with the that standard. Okay, now you can see here the information of the segment like case, unit, each number, and this is the description of the s- information are here. Like this is the code of the EDI facts. We can see this is the separator, this is the data element tag, this is the information are here. Data elements simple and composite. Okay, this must be asked in the interview as well if you are in the interview, and this is very helpful to you. A simple data element contains the one piece of information. The composite data element contains more than one piece of information, usually containing qualifiers as well. Okay. In the simple data element, this will call only single value. In the composite data element, you can see more than the piece of the information. Like in the composite element, this is called the sub element as well. What is composite element? First, in the composite element is included, first one is the qualifier, and second one is the actual value. Okay, this is called the composite element. In the EDI fact, all mandatory data element must contain conditional data elements may or may not contain the data depending on the requirements of the particular transmission. Since data element must be accounted for by their position in the segment, if an optional or conditional data element does not have data, that data element must still be accounted for in its position with the segment by using the appropriate number of the data element separators to skip over empty field. For example, like you can see NAD plus plus plus. What is this? This is the part in identification of the details and